Hey guys, Simon here and welcome back to another episode of Gaming Memories. Today I'm going to be talking about how I discovered one of my most cherished PlayStation 1 games of the late 1990s, Nightmare Creatures. Okay, for this one we need to travel back to the year 1996, and it was a few months after my birthday that I'd received my PlayStation 1. Now, with your shiny new PlayStation, you would receive a registration card that you could fill out and then be entitled to future mail-outs of exclusive demo discs, software news, limited edition stickers and postcards. Young me thought this was great, so I filled out my registration card with all my details, jumped on my bike and rode straight down to my local post office and sent it off. Several months have now passed since I mailed off the registration card, and I think it was about mid-year into 1997. I get home from primary school one afternoon, walk inside and my mother tells me I've received some mail, and she just put it down on my bed in my bedroom. And I'm immediately wondering what it is, because when you're a kid you never received any mail unless it was your birthday or it was Christmas time, and it was neither of those at this point. But it had completely skipped my mind that I had sent off my PlayStation's registration card the previous year. So I had no idea what it could be, and I just raced down to my bedroom, all excited. Now, when I got down to my room, sitting on my bed was a brown A4 sized cardboard envelope, and up in the left-hand corner was the Sony Computer Entertainment logo. And when I saw this, I immediately remembered about the registration card I had sent away, and my excitement levels just tripled. I then ripped it open and was greeted with a typed letter and a demo disc. Now, the typed letter said something along the lines of, "Dear Simon, thank you for your invested interest in the PlayStation platform. Included is the 1997 Summer Collection demo disc that contains a sample of the hottest new PlayStation games and video trailers for you to enjoy. Live in your world, play in ours." And at this point, I just flipped out. Because as a kid, for me, getting a demo disc was a pretty big deal, as like most kids my age, you would only get new games for your birthday or for Christmas, so demo discs would fill the gap between those periods of time. I was pumped. New demos to play, gameplay videos to watch. Hell yeah, I grabbed the disc, ran down the hallway, popped the lid of my PS1, threw the disc in and fired it up. So now the PlayStation has loaded up and I'm greeted with one of those nostalgic PS1 demo menus with the funky electro 90s music, with all the names of the demos displayed in a ring that rotates around when you want to select them. The games on this particular disc were Crash Bandicoot 2, Cooler World, Crushy, Overboard, a CGI video for Crash 2 that was just pure 90s cringe, but at the time I thought it was pretty awesome, along with a video advertisement for the Net Yarazzi and a demo for Nightmare Creatures. I remember I started off by playing the Crash 2 demo and then I watched the Crash 2 CGI video. I wasn't very interested in Karashi or Cooler World as they were puzzle-based games. I was completely blown away by the Net Yarazzi video because at the time I didn't even know that variation of PlayStation existed, let alone one you could program. It was amazing to see that. As for Overboard, I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best game, but I still had fun. And then last up was Nightmare Creatures. I didn't know anything about Nightmare Creatures. I hadn't seen anything on it or in any of the PlayStation magazines I was reading at the time, so I just fired it up. There was a small loading screen and I was immediately thrown into the first level, which was called Chelsea. No intro, no controller layout, no info, nothing. Just a zombie walking straight at me. I had no idea what to do, so I just started button mashing. As the zombie was on top of me, I must have accidentally pressed the use item button. My character pulled out his firearm, took a shot, and the zombie's head came flying straight off with a pool of blood following behind it. I was completely shocked at this, but also thought it was the best thing ever, because up to this point, I had played violent games before, but nothing with this level of gore, and it was great, so naturally I pressed on and tried to finish the demo. And in the beginning I found it quite hard. I was continuously getting killed by zombies and werewolves, mainly the werewolves, but I kept at it and learnt the fundamentals of blocking and strafing and waiting for an enemy to finish a combo before you would attack. And then after this, I just totally fell in love with the combat. But it wasn't just the combat I loved. Nightmare Creatures had a dark and gloomy atmosphere and setting that I hadn't experienced before in a video game. It made you feel like you didn't know what was around the next corner. It left you full of questions like, how has all this happened? Where did all the zombies and werewolves come from? Where are the townspeople? Are they hiding inside their homes? It left me full of wonder and wanting more. And then the soundtrack of this one demo was so foreboding and creepy. You could hear the howls of the werewolves off in the distance. It really kept you thinking about what might be down there lurking in the darkness further on the level. And then combine this with the ambient effects of leaves falling from trees, rats scurrying around, the sounds of rusty signs creaking in the wind. It made for such an awesome gameplay experience, and it was an experience I just got hooked on, and I continued to play the demo of Nightmare Creatures every day. Before school, after school, I learnt every inch of that demo and just loved it. I think I kept on playing it for about 6 months. I did try looking for a full copy, but unfortunately was unsuccessful. And like you do when you're young, you move on and find something new, and eventually I forgot about it and moved on to different games. Fast forward, and it is now September 1998. I'm in my first year of high school and it's my birthday. So at this point in time, I've really started getting into PCs. I was still into console gaming, but I've taken a real fascination to computers, and for some dumbass reason, I've got it in my head that my parents are getting me a laptop for my birthday. I don't know why I thought this at the time, but I just did. And I can tell you there is no way I would ever be getting a laptop, as the average price for a laptop during 1998 here in Australia was about $3,000 to $4,000. So that was not happening. Anyway, it was the day of my birthday, and that night I'm sitting in our lounge room and my parents bring out my birthday gift. It's a large box. They place it down in front of me where I was sitting and say, "Happy birthday, Simon, here's your gift. We really think you need one of these." This next part of the story I feel really bad about, and I still do to this day. So I ripped open the box and straight away was disappointed, because it wasn't a laptop, but it was a new TV, a small Daewoo CRT. One of the really nice models with all the component options in the front and the back. And I can tell you at the time I really needed a new TV, because the one I was using in my bedroom for my PlayStation was from the mid-1980s. The picture quality was washed out and dim, and for me to hook up my PlayStation to it, I had to have my PlayStation hooked up to a VCR that was just as old as the TV. And then the VCR had to run into the back of the TV because the TV only had an aerial input and no component inputs. So it wasn't a very practical setup. But anyway, I was really disappointed that it was a new TV. I said thank you to Mum and Dad. I didn't even take it out of the box. I picked up the box, took it down to my room, sat it in the corner and didn't touch it or even set it up. I was such an ungrateful shithead of a kid, and to this day, I'm still really disappointed about how I acted back then. So now it's about a week later. It's Saturday morning and myself and Father are at home. I'm in my room and Dad walks in, and he must have seen my new TV sitting in the corner of my room, still in the packaging. And he turns to me and asks, "How come you haven't tried out your new TV yet?" And I don't know why I said what I said next. Probably because the past week I realised how much a laptop would have cost and I didn't want to look stupid. But I said to him, I didn't really want a TV, I wanted a new PlayStation game. Again, what an ungrateful shithead. But Dad wasn't disappointed or upset about this. He just smiled and said, "That's okay, mate." He told me to jump in the car and then we left for town to go into our local Kmart. Looking back, I think just how awesome Dad was for doing that. Like, he's just spent over $200 on a new TV for me. I was completely ungrateful, but he didn't care and he just wanted to make me happy. He was so awesome for doing that. Anyway, we arrived at our local mall, go into the Kmart and go to the game section. Keep in mind, I had no idea what game I wanted, but I just started browsing and looking for about 15 minutes. I didn't really find or see anything I liked, so I decided to skim over a row that I'd already looked at previously, and I came across a game I must have missed. It was Nightmare Creatures. this exact copy. And at that moment, I remembered how awesome the Nightmare Creatures demo was that I played back in 1997, and how bad I wanted the full game at the time but could never find it. And here I was, over a year later, holding the full version in my hands. I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic. It was finally mine. I've then turned to my father and told him, this is the game I want. He just nodded with a smile on his face. We went up and paid for it, and then started to head for home. Once me and my father had arrived home, I couldn't get to my room fast enough. In fact, I'm pretty sure I just about jumped out of Dad's car before he even came to a complete stop. I was that excited. Once out of the car, I sprinted down to my room, but as I got there, I remember seeing my new TV sitting in its packaging in the corner. And I said to myself, I'm going to set this up before I start playing. And thinking about it now, this was a pivotal moment for me back then, as what I was essentially about to do was create my first ever gaming setup. So I then went about disconnecting my old TV and VCR. I unpacked my new Daewoo television and placed it on one corner of my desk. I loved my old desk. It was just a typical 1990s white particle board desk. It was just really functional. I loved it. And then I placed my PlayStation next to the TV, and my games and demo discs were placed in a wooden CD holder that I had made at school. Well, it was supposed to be a CD holder, but I actually measured up a PS1 game case and made changes to the measurements so I could store PS1 games on it instead. But I had that sitting in the opposite corner, loaded up with all my games. As for the power and component cables, I had them routed carefully behind the desk so you couldn't see them, and basically I had just created a clean and functional setup with my desk pushed underneath the corner windows of my bedroom so I could see outside into the backyard. I loved that setup, and I ended up using it for years to come. Anyway, once that was done, I fired up my new TV, I put Nightmare Creatures in the PlayStation, hit the power button, and I was greeted with the iconic PS1 boot up screen. And immediately I could tell how good this new TV was when compared to the old one. The colours and picture were bright and crisp, with the sound booming out of its speakers, clean and sharp with no hints of crackle or interference. It immediately outperformed my old TV in every way, and I was so damn happy about it. Then the Nightmare Creatures opening cutscene started to play, and I was just glued to it, and it got me so excited for the journey I was about to go on. But once the game reached the main menu, I stopped and I ran out to Dad, and I told him how great the new TV was. And I just remember he looked at me and smirked and nodded and said, "I told you needed a new one." And then I ran back down to my room and played Nightmare Creatures non-stop for the rest of the day and into the night. And since then, Nightmare Creatures has become one of my most played PS1 games to this day. I had such an amazing time that Saturday, even though previously I had acted like an ungrateful shithead. But seeing Dad smirk when I told him how great the TV was, it was like he always knew I would end up loving it. And that whole experience has just ended up being one of those memories that will stick with me for the rest of my life. Well guys, that's it for today's episode of Gaming Memories. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking with me. I know it was a little bit long-winded, but I really enjoy talking about this type of stuff, and I'd love to make more of these episodes moving forward. Let me know in the comments below, what are some of your favourite gaming memories? I'd love to read them. Anyway, as always, remember to keep that positivity flowing, and I'll see you all next time with more PlayStation content.